This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Algeria has warmly welcomed the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court (ICC) against two leaders of the Zionist entity for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in the Gaza Strip. Worldwide reactions continue to pour following the issuing by the International Criminal Court (ICC) of arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and his Defense Minister Gallant. And the International Observatory for the Monitoring of the Natural Resources of Western Sahara Resource Watch, has warned French companies against the risk of engaging in projects in the occupied Western Sahara without the consent of the Sahrawi people. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Good afternoon. First, the chairman of the National Defense Committee at the Council of the Nation, Issa Naili, is to take part as from today, Friday, in Montreal, Canada, on behalf of the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, in the 70th annual session of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, according to a press release issued by the Upper House of Parliament. The agenda for the session, scheduled to last until next Monday, includes the examining of reports by the standing committees of the Parliamentary Assembly and its Mediterranean and Middle East Special Group on issues such as combating conflict-related sexual violence, stimulating technological progress, and ways of benefiting from the responsible use of AI in the military field. And the Deputy Speaker of the Council of the Nation in charge of monitoring external activities, Mohammed Rida Ousahla, has chaired over a coordination meeting with the members of the parliamentary delegation of the Council in preparation for its participation in the 48th European Conference on Committees of Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, slated from the 28th to the 30th of the current month in Portugal. The Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Army General Saeed Shingriha, has presided over, on behalf of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, the installation ceremony of Major General Nasreddin Fodil as Commander of the 3rd Military Region in Bashar. More details with our colleague Majid Millah.
A communiqué issued by the Ministry of National Defense indicated that after the welcoming ceremony, the Army General inspected the squares of the region's offices and personnel lined up at the parade ground before announcing the official installation of Major General Nasreddin Fodil as commander of the 3rd Military Region, replacing Major General Mustafa Smaili. The Army General then presided over the ceremony to hand over the national flag and sign the protocol. At the end of the ceremony, the Army General met with the region's officers and staff and gave an orientation speech broadcast by video conference to all his units, in which he reiterated his congratulations on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the outbreak of the November 1st, 1954 glorious revolution. At the end of the meeting, the Army General listened to the speeches made by the officers and staff of the 3rd Military Region Command and also to their concerns.
And the visiting advisor and special envoy of the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Dahir Mohamed Giley, has said in Algiers that relations between Algeria and Somalia are solid and fraternal. In a statement to the press following his meeting with the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Dahir Mohamed Giley, who was carrying a letter from the Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, indicated that Somalia hopes that Algerian-Somali relations will remain solid and fraternal as they have always been, through bilateral meetings and coordination on the main regional and international issues, adding that the letter he handed to the President of the Republic concerned relations between the two countries and ways of strengthening them, as well as issues of common interest. Let's recall that the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received Thursday the advisor and special envoy of the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Dahir Mohamed Giley, who presented him with a letter from his Somali counterpart. The Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, Selma Bakhta Mansouri, has chaired here in Algiers by video conference the 38th meeting of the Federal Points Committee of the African Peer Review Mechanism as part of Algeria's chairmanship of the APRM, Forum of Heads of State and Government of the African Peer Review Mechanism for the period from February 2024 to February 2026. A communique issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad, and African Affairs stated that the meeting held in the presence of Executive Director of the APRM Continental Secretariat, Ambassador Marie-Antoinette Rose-Quatre, focused on several points, including the mechanism's main initiatives, including the development of the 2025-2028 strategic plan and the draft report on governance in Africa for 2025, the creation of the African Rating Agency, and consideration of the draft agenda for the 3rd Extraordinary Summit and the 34th Ordinary Summit of the APRM Forum of Heads of State and Government, scheduled for mid-February in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The Minister of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion, Mohamed Bukhari, has highlighted the importance of combining the efforts of all the stakeholders involved and the effectiveness of performance in order to achieve the targets set for increasing non-hydrocarbon exports. A statement issued by the presidency indicated that at the end of the meeting chaired by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, devoted to exports, Mr. Bukhari said that this extremely important meeting was part of the policy of the President of the Republic aimed at diversifying the national economy, notably in the field of non-hydrocarbon exports. And the president of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council, CREA, Kemal Moula, has said in Algiers that the meeting on exports chaired by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, was important and fruitful. In a statement issued at the end of the meeting, Mr. Moula said that the discussions focused on the importance of non-hydrocarbon exports with the presentation of an assessment of what had been achieved and future objectives in the area. The president of CREA also highlighted the role of companies in increasing non-hydrocarbon exports, pointing out that the objective of creating 20,000 companies would make it possible to achieve production surpluses that would boost exports. Algeria has warmly welcomed the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court (ICC) against 2 leaders of the Zionist entity for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in the Gaza Strip, according to a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad, and African Affairs. This measure that Algeria has not ceased to demand through the voice of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, is an important step and a correct move towards the end of decades of impunity and non-punishment for the Zionist occupier while committing crimes against the Palestinian people and in all countries of the region. In order to bring justice and protect the Palestinian people, Algeria urged the members of the international community, including the ICC member states, to take the necessary measures to implement these arrest warrants and to let international justice follow its natural course. And worldwide reactions continue to pour following the issuing by the International Criminal Court (ICC) of arrest warrants against the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and his Defense Minister Gallant. The ICC said it had found reasonable grounds to believe that the Israeli officials were responsible for starvation and war crimes in Gaza. The Palestinian Authority, which governs the occupied West Bank, said the ICC's decision represents hope and confidence in international law and its institutions. It urges ICC members to enforce a policy of severing contact and meetings with Netanyahu and Gallant. The group welcomed the decision, Hamas group welcomed the decision to issue arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant, calling it an important step towards justice. It also called on the ICC to expand its scope to other Israeli officials. Belgium said through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs that the fight against impunity wherever crimes are committed is a priority for Belgium, which fully supports the work of the ICC. Canada on Thursday affirmed its support and compliance with the International Criminal Court arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Chief Yoav Gallant. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that Canada stands up for international law and will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the International Court. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said the ICC warrants were not political and should be respected and implemented. The spokesman of the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Christophe Lemoine, indicated that France would act in line with the ICC statutes. Prime Minister Simon Harris said that warrants are extremely significant step. He added that Ireland respects the ICC's role and that anyone in a position to assist it in carrying out its vital work must do so with urgency. And Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said that Rome would consider with allies how to interpret the decision and act together. With support the ICC, the court must play a legal role and not a political role, he added. And Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi said that the ICC's decision must be respected and implemented. Palestinians deserve justice, he said. In a statement, the government welcomed the ICC decision and said it marked a significant step towards justice for crimes against humanity and war crimes in Palestine. South Africa reaffirms its commitment to international law and urges all state parties to act in accordance with their obligations in the Rome Statute. Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said that the ICC arrest warrants was a hopeful and crucial step in bringing to justice Israeli authorities who committed genocide against Palestinians. And the Secretary General for the United Security, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, respects the work and independence of the ICC, said his spokesman, Stefan Dujarric, when asked about warrants issued for Netanyahu and Gallant. And the Arab League has denounced the U.S. use of its veto in the Security Council to prevent the adoption of a draft resolution calling for a ceasefire and an end to the Zionist aggression that has been going on for more than a year in the Gaza Strip. The Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Ahmed Abul Ghait, underlined this internationally isolated and politically and morally condemned American position is a green light for the continuation by the Zionist entity of the bloody campaign against Palestinian civilians in Gaza, including the continued use of starvation and forced displacement within Gaza in order to empty the north of its population. And the United Nations has reported a threefold increase in the number of Palestinian children murdered since the start of the Zionist genocidal war on the Gaza Strip on October 7, 2023, and the intensification of Zionist attacks in the occupied West Bank. More details in this report by our colleague Saad Bougazi.
UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric told the press conference that children are the most affected by the deterioration of the situation in the West Bank, stated that since 7th October last year, an average of 4 Palestinian children have been killed every week in the West Bank, marking a threefold increase compared to the first 9 months of 2023. He also highlighted the violence of Jewish settlers who continue to displace Palestinian children in the West Bank. Among the more than 1,700 Palestinians displaced by violence, intimidation and harassment by settlers in Bedouin communities, nearly half were children, noted Stefan Dujarric. In recent years, the Zionist occupation army has carried out regular raids in the occupied West Bank, which intensified with the start of the genocidal war in the Gaza Strip, launched on 7th October 2023. The Palestinians have also been violently attacked by Jewish settlers. In the last 13 months, 795 Palestinians have been murdered and more than 6,450 others have been wounded by Zionist fire in the occupied West Bank, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health.
And to the Western Sahara issue now, the International Observatory for the Monitoring of the Natural Resources of Western Sahara Resources Watch, has warned French companies against the risk of engaging in projects in occupied Western Sahara without the consent of the Sahrawi people. Whatever the political agenda of the French government and whatever President Macron says, Western Sahara is not part of Morocco. In other words, Macron's efforts to push French companies into the occupied territory carry a serious risk for companies that might bite the hook, warns Western Sahara Resource Watch. With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin for today. Time now for weekly programs. We'll meet you again tomorrow for a edition of our news bulletin. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now. To travel back in